What's up, guys? In just 10 minutes I'm going to be showing you guys my thought process throughout this week, what I'm expecting price to do this week. All right, so this is going to be a very short video. Let's start first with DXY, and as I always tell you, first when you're starting, you go right to the higher time frames. Now we're not going to look at the monthly because we already had what the monthly time frame. We already decided on what the monthly time frame will be doing, right? We expect price to move on right up to taking the high of August, right, which is a 3 months fair value gap, and currently price is pushing in that direction. We took out previous monthly high, and we are still, since the month is still on, so but we're still trading above that high, and I believe price is likely going to trade up to this high. Also, this is an area where we can say price might get resisted at 100 on DXY, so it's also like an area of resistance. All right, but we're expecting more higher prices for DXY. Now let's go to the weekly time frame. If you also see how the weekly candle closed for the last week, you see that it was really bullish, and this week as well we expect at least price to take out previous weekly high. So I'll be expecting price to take out at least previous weekly high. I'll be targeting that previous weekly high based on just looking at this candle, and then also where we have our draw on liquidity. So that's just maybe when you're looking at price based on the higher time frames, those are the most important things to focus on: candle closes and then your draw on liquidity. Okay, it's very, very important. Now we have a new week. Today is still Monday, and now since we're expecting higher prices, you first of all need to ask yourself where, if price wants to sell, because for the market to buy, it needs to first of all do what? When the market opens and it's supposed to buy, it has to first of all sell and then buy. Now sometimes it will open, buy, sell, and then buy back again. So these are the profiles that you can expect. It happens like this, or it happens like this, or price opens, consolidate, and then sell off and then to buy. These are the three main ways that you can see a candle formation. It opens, it sells directly, and then it buys back, or sometimes it opens and then just starts buying, exactly like this happened. So we have about how many? Four profiles if we're expecting a bullish week. Either the market opens and starts selling immediately, or it opens, sell to create the low of the week, or it opens, buy first to some point before selling, and then later on buying. This one is still likely the same like this one. Also, when it opens, it consolidates maybe for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday comes, manipulate, and then expand. This profile is mostly on days where we have news. All right, on news days where news is there on Friday and stuff like that. Also, this one is the same. It can also, most days where we have news on Wednesday, price can open as it's trading high, and then during the news, price spikes lower, clearing out the liquidity before moving up. Now remember, this selling off before price buys is always, price will sell down to a PD area, which is what we want to look at now. Okay, so when you're looking at the weekly time frame, that's just basically what you want to see. You are expecting, you want to see an area where price will do what? Clear first before where price can get resisted at before moving higher. Now you know that in a bullish market, every down close candle is a support. Okay, in a bullish market, every down close candle is a support. So this is, we have an OB here on the weekly time frame. Okay, so this is our other block on the weekly time frame. Let me put that to the right. Let's make it a little bigger. Okay, so this bearish down close candle is another block. Now this is the same like market structure where you have a high that was created, a lower low, and then price creates something like that. So we expect a retest of this point for maybe higher prices. All right, it's the same thing that happens here. If we go maybe to the line chart, you're going to see that is the same thing, right? So this was first of all a resistance zone, and now it's a support. So we can expect, if at all price might want to drop down to this point, then we're going to have a bullish PDR, a bullish move from that point. Also, I'm interested in this weekly low. Okay, I'm interested in this weekly low, which has no wick. It's also a very sensitive point for the market. Okay, it's also a very sensitive zone for the market, a candle with no wick. All right, always take note of that as well. So let's go to the daily, and then on the daily time frame we had a volume gap at that point. So this was for last week. We had this volume gap, and then if you look at how Friday closed, remember also that before this close, it was because price traded up to this other block here. Okay, price traded up to this other block, and then we had that bearish move on Friday. And what I'm thinking that there's a likelihood that price might want to come down. You can see Monday and Tuesday had no wick, so I feel that this is a very good spot for us to expect a draw back to. Okay, I'm expecting at least maybe price can drop back down to this area here before we can have more higher prices. Also, it is a good zone at a discount. We have a discount around that point, 618.70786 level. So it's going to be a good spot for us to expect price to react from that level. Also, you want to check if you have internal range liquidity here, because let me show you guys something. When you have a range like this, okay, when you have a range like this, once your range high is marked and your range low is marked, how deep this pullback is going to be based on the internal range liquidity that you have within this range. Okay, so which means that if you have a range like that is like this, okay, which is the same thing here. Now maybe it's just straight on the daily, but when you go down to the 4 hour, we will have something like this. Now there is a likelihood that what will happen is price will have to come right down to take out this internal range liquidity before it moves higher. So this particular move here, this small pullback, which is likely going to be an inducement into some key level here, is going to be what determines how deep this pullback is going to be. Okay, so which means that you can have something clear like this, but you don't know whether this pullback should end here or should it come down. Should it Now, for you to know, you have to be able to determine the type of internal range liquidity that you have here, so that you will know exactly what price is. Because when the market is pulling back in, it's coming back for internal range liquidity. Okay, sometimes you can have the same range like that, but it has its internal range liquidity here. All right, so price takes it and then just moves back. Now this can be around the 50% of this range. Price takes this and then taps into the 50% or the equilibrium of the range, and then from there we just have a push back up. Okay, it happens, and it is also based on this one. Based on this, also if you have a PDR here, like let's say mitigation block or fair value gap, where this is closer to, then it's very important. Also take note that most PDRs that are closer to your inducements, they are always high probability. Okay, it depends on if price is moving in that direction as we are expecting. All right, so that's just a tip there for you. But let's go back to the chart here. Now why I was telling you guys about this was because I want us to look at this. Okay. Oops. All right, so let's go back. Let's go now to the daily chart. Okay, now on the daily chart, let's see. It looks like I've retrieved everything that I had here on the chart. So let's see. Now we have price respecting this other block here. You can see price pushing from that other block, and I also mentioned that we had this volume gap here, which is also a very interesting area where I think price might want to trade up to. But for at the moment, we want to see if price is going to respect which of these zones right here. Okay, we have price filling this level gap and then push higher. So we have, this is our range high and this is our range low right now. Okay, so if this is our range high and range low, we really want to start trading at least from below the equilibrium of this range, right? So If price can at least trade down to maybe below the 50%, then it's a good area for us to look for some longs. Also, we have this high here. That could mean a retest of that for price for more higher prices. But let's go to 4 hour and see if within this range we can have any interesting zone. Now, looking at this here, I can already say that we have an area here for liquidity, right? We have a zone here for as internal range liquidity, and I think it's a very good one. I think it's a very good one. And fortunately as well for us, we have the resistance zone here. Okay, the resistance here that was broken, and I feel like maybe this price can still come back to that zone. Let's see, we had a few of this fair value gap. So there is likelihood that price might pull down to this point before moving higher, and also we have that volume gap here. So we have two internal range liquidity. Now this becomes interesting. What do you do when you have a couple of internal range liquidities? Maybe you have 2 or 3 like that. Let's say for example, this is your range low, this is your range high. Now price trades like that, it creates this, it creates this. Okay, now on the higher time frame we'll have a range like this, but on the 4 hour this is what we have. Do we choose this to be our internal range liquidity or this? Now the truth is price can trade from this one, and the same as price can trade from this one. Price can decide to target this, and it can also decide to target this. But now this is high probability because it is at a discount. All right, but this one is at premium. That's the reason why it's a little bit low probability, but price can still respect it. All right, especially if you have a PDR here to support the bullishness from that point. Okay, that's one thing that you should look out for as well. Now let's say for example we want to target on this one, we want to target the last one. Which PDR do we have? The PDR that we have here is our volume gap. Okay, and we also have this point which we can use as our support, and it aligns also with the volume gap here. Right now, remember this is still the 4 hour, which means we have to be looking at confirmations here. Okay, we'll have to be looking at confirmations at this point before we get our longs. And if we want to trade the first PDRA, okay, then we can be looking at that. And remember I said these are very good spots. These are very good spots, and they all have inducements leading into it. So we can still have price do what? Take out that inducement, play out like that, and then we move higher from there. All right, so this is what I'll be expecting on the XY for more higher prices going up to take out that high. Let's see, maybe if we can have a trend line here. Let's try to draw maybe a trend line and see if okay, let me try to see if we can have a trend line at that point. Let's use this one, extended line, and keep from this point to this point. Okay, so if we can maybe, let's see. All right, not really that close. I think yeah, it's not really that interesting, because now we actually have another block here, but I don't see a reason why price will want to respect this other block. Okay, and then leave this volume gap here. Plus this is likely an inducement to this, and this other block, it's not that healthy because we had no liquidity grab before it actually was formed. So for me, I wouldn't like to focus more on it, right? So let's forget about this trend line for now. And then also this other block, I don't trust it. I prefer this volume gap here, and then I also prefer this area of support here now, which is like a breaker, right? It's a breaker because it took out this low and it went higher. So this was supposed to be our bearish order block, hence now it should be our breaker block. So we can look at that, these two key levels later. Now that price is currently trying to push higher, what are we looking at? We have this CRT here, CR low, and then we have its high here. So if this wants to happen, maybe price can push back up to somewhere around here. Okay, can push back somewhere around that point, and then we can have more sales. we can have more sales to the discount of our range before more buys comes in. Okay, we can have this high taken out as liquidity. Now that's what I'll be looking at on GXY. So let's look at Euro USD. Euro USD weekly chart. Now Euro USD weekly chart, same thing. We are expecting a monthly fair value gap which price filled, and fortunately for us, price has not yet price hasn't touched the origin of the liquidity that we pointed out here. Okay, the origin of this trend line, we haven't taken it yet, and then we have this previous weekly low. So this previous weekly low is going to be our first target, and then this trend line, I don't know, from there we're going to see if the momentum price will want to take out this low as well. Okay, but for now, let's see where we can have more sales for price to target this low. All right, but in that case, we have this candle here. Let me see this. We have this point, which is our bearish order block. I would prefer this one. Okay, or use this one as well. It's like an area now of resistance. Okay, so let's see the daily time frame. Now the daily time frame, price also reach out to this zone, filled out this fair value gap here nicely, and then we pushed lower. So we have a range high, and then we have a range low. Okay, we have a range high, and now we have a range low. Now just looking at this price action here, we can't see any internal range liquidity that we have, all right here. So but we have an area like this where we can say maybe price wants to support it to move lower. Okay, because this was support that was broken. So let's see 4 hour, and then we try to find out the internal range liquidity that we have. Now looking at this price action here, also take note that on DXY we had this volume gap here as well, this to this point. Now on Euro USD, price has filled it already. Price has filled that gap already. Also, this is like a market maker sell model where we have this here to be the origin of our consolidation. Okay, we have this point here to be like the origin of our consolidation. That's why I expect prices to sell further down to take out that low. But now currently for us to have more sales, we have to look at areas where people will likely be placing their stops for those that are selling, right? And that this already is a nice order block here, and the price is looking like it wants to start buying. Although this is a good spot for more, this is a good spot. Price actually took our liquidity there, and price took our liquidity above this high, and then we have also, this was a fake order block. Price has already rated it, but he hasn't traded into that order block. So for now, I cannot be bearish yet. Also take note that we have equal highs here. We have relative equal highs above this point. Okay, we have relative equal highs above that point, which can maybe cause price to push back higher. All right, so for now what I want to see is maybe a push. If price happens to push down to this point, good, we can now maybe look for higher prices like that. You can take this window as liquidity into this other block here. Okay, then for higher prices. Now just looking at this price action, we have a valid swing high here. Okay, this is a valid swing high. This is a valid swing high. That's why I'm not trying to look for more higher prices yet, because we have a valid swing high that has ready liquidity, and it has another block here. So I'm starting to feel like price can likely sell off from here, okay, into the previous weekly low. So for now, what I'll do is be more patient to see what actually happens here. Okay, we have, this is a valid swing high here, so maybe a little pushback up there, we can have more sales to take out this low. But now if this sales failed, at this point, Then we have this other block here. We have this other block zone to look for sales. I talked about this. We talked about this volume gap that has been filled already. This was for the daily. This gap was for a daily fair value gap. It was already filled. So we have this nice other block here, this one. So if price fails to respect this one, then we have liquidity into this other block to focus on. We have this one, so we'll look for sales from this point. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be looking at on Euro USD as well. Same thing with DXY. I'm not very much interested in trying to sell for now, because I would really love to see price trade up to this other block. We're expecting it, and then for more lower prices. I know that we took out this high, filling this fair value gap, but then we have some relative equal highs there. If you look at it on the 15 minute, I know that at this point, a lot of people are already trying to maybe get in some sales here, maybe from this fair value gap, or they want to choose this to be a breakout. But then this high is not taken yet, so for me, I would rather prefer to miss the trade than to engage on that sell right there. So if we want to see lower prices, we have a 15-minute key level here. Though this one has no good PDR inducement to it, therefore I would maybe love to see price comes down, start to do some funny ranging, and then taps in before I try to buy somewhere here after that confirmation. Okay, let price create some inducement there for us like that before we can buy. All right, but for now I cannot sell with all this liquidity here. It's too much, so it's too much. And then we have a very nice 4-hour order block above here. So why are we trying to sell that early? I don't know, but it depends on you. Price can still sell from there. I'm not saying it cannot, so we'll just have to wait, and then we'll see what actually happens. So that's for Euro USD. Let's go to GU. GU GBP USD. GBP USD on the daily. Let's look at it on the monthly. Now, perfect. I still have this fair value gap on GU. This is still my target, okay, which is monthly average. That's still my monthly average, okay, on GU monthly average. All right, and we have this relative equal lows next to it, so I really want to use this as our liquidity for price to at least trade down to that point. Now let's look at it on the daily. On the weekly, yeah, we can say previous weekly low is a new target. From there we push more lower. So on the daily, we also had Friday trying to push back higher, so we have a range high here, and then we have a range low here. So let's try to see what we can have here as internal range liquidity before price moves lower. Now we have price respecting this other block here, okay, and when you look at this price action here, it's very interesting. So much build up trendline liquidity here, a lot of trendline liquidity at that point. Now we can have more sales from there, but then I think we have another block here. I think we have another block here that price might be interested in, which we cannot use this as inducement to it, because this one, the inducement is right down here, so price can use this key level as an inducement, right? Yeah, so let's just watch out. I think I think it's better we try to see what this key level can do for us. Okay, this point, we can now use this as inducement liquidity into that All right, so we can play around here and then maybe create the high of the week somewhere here and then to continue selling. Okay, so yeah, let's see 1 hour time frame. This week here looks like we can have something there on the 1 hour. Okay, on the 1 hour time frame we had that other block, and the price respected it already. Price respected it. I think, yeah, we have a very nice 1 hour order block there now. So I think that's much better that we wait for price, trade like that, and then we get some sales from that point. Okay. All right. So that's GBP USD. Let's look at gold. Now, gold has been gold is a very interesting pair, guys. We have been pushing higher, pushing higher, pushing higher, and just when we thought that sales were coming in, more buys came in. And today we are already above the all-time high again, which is at 4,000. Remember, we start talking about this 4,000, right? I think how many weeks ago, and then price finally came into that zone, and looks like we are coming in for 4,100 this time around. We have 4,100, which I think that should be another point of interest for us. Maybe from there we can have a pullback. So as of now, I don't have any sell bias on gold until at least we reach this round figure. Also, price has taken this high, but then we did not even try to close back below. Price close above it, and that's a sign that there is a likelihood of price to try to push more higher. Remember also that the moment people are seeing these rejections, it makes them to feel like there's gonna be a real sell, just maybe to start selling, to and then fueling price to push more higher. Okay, so anyways, we already had like a retest on the 15 minutes of that zone. Let's see, maybe one more spike to this point and then we can have sales. Right, so just let go to do this thing. Unless you were buying already, yeah, it would have been good. Okay, we had this liquidity grab here, and then price went up, came back down, right down to the other block, and then pushed higher. So if price could come back down to this point and you were scared that it was going to maybe come down to this other block, you would have been waiting for confirmation. And what would be the confirmation? Simply waiting for price to close up below, above the last bearish candle that we have here, which is this one. The moment you have that, you could have gotten in your long position on this next candle. You put your stops below this one, and then you target this. We had those relative equal highs there. All right, and that was simple. 1:8 arrow, because this setup had everything: sweeping of liquidity. All right, then shifting higher. Now you will notice that we had no inducement. That's why price had to do all this, because if you go down to maybe 5 minutes or 3 minutes, let's even say 3 minutes, you will see that price played here with a lot of people, right? When it came down, people started buying. As they buy, they shift their stop loss, price comes back, take them out, buy again. Want to buy, price shift, and then takes your stop loss again until you don't feel like price should continue uh, buying again, but then boom, it starts buying. And if that wasn't even your confirmation, just you now seeing this shift in market structure here, and then creating this other block, that would have still be an entry for you. Okay, anyways, that's just it. But for now on gold, we missed out on the best positions to be long, so I cannot buy any moment from here at this point. I think that we have reached a point where we can likely be having a deeper pullback now, right? So we have actually expanded so much that I expect maybe a pullback any moment from now. Maybe today, if today comes back to close below this, then we can use this candle now as our CRT. Okay, If today comes back to close within the range of this bearish candle, we can use it as our CRT, and then we can expect price to even come down to this average. That's for gold. So let's look at Bitcoin. Previously, after taking out this previous high, now we had a crypto crash that was on Friday, and then price has been trying to recover from that. So let's look at it on the monthly. Now, monthly time frame, we just took out this candles high, and then we had that heavy pushback to the downside. Let's look at it on the weekly. All right, so weekly time frame as well, we traded back down. Remember, in a bullish market, bearish candles become support, right? So we have this low as our invalidation. So if price wants to take out this low, then I will start expecting more sales on Bitcoin, maybe even down to taking out this low. Okay, but for now, we're expecting, I still expect higher prices now. I could also possibly say that this is a double push. Okay, a double push where price takes the high, takes the lows to close back with it, then we're going back for the high. So there's a likelihood that we're going back right up for that high. Okay, and it was nice that price came down to this AVG, which also within this other block. So also Friday closed good. There's a possibility that we are going back higher from here. Okay, yeah, but if our invalidation is taken, because I can see a funny trend line here, if our invalidation is taken, then this low is going to be in trouble, because now this looks like an accumulation low here. This looks like an accumulation. So if that low is taken out, then definitely we are coming back to take out this one. Maybe now you use it as inducement to this other block here. Alright, but for now I'm bullish, unless I'm bullish till price takes out this low. That's Bitcoin. Maybe at this point now we can be going for about 130 or 130. In our last analysis, I think I was pointing out that we can see maybe 150. Was it 150 that we're looking at? Yeah. All right, so that's for Bitcoin. I don't know, we should look at USD GPY. I missed one buy on USD GPY last week because of the way the price opened, and I was so angry with myself. But then it was the way the market opened and price just went higher. So we expecting more buyers as well, just like we did on we do on DXY. Higher prices. We have this daily, also have the volume gap here. So let's see if we can have sales around this point, then to target this resistance zone here. Maybe we'll see from there if we are gonna have higher prices. GBP GPY, same thing. We had that low already, and the price bounced to the upside so heavily, and then we have this point now. Maybe for more lower prices we can have something like that, and then down to this volume gap. Guys, I think that should be it for today. I don't want to make this video long, but if you have watched up to this moment, congrats to you, and I wish you guys the best. Make sure that you like, and then maybe share the video to your friends, and make sure you subscribe so that once I upload other contents you will be notified immediately. Thank you guys so much, and shalom.